America's story begins with a war for independence, for freedom, for a new beginning. In the late 18th century, a group of 13 colonies decided to challenge the might of the British Empire. They sought to break free from the chains of colonial rule and create a new nation, a new identity, a new America. This was the Revolutionary War, a conflict that would shape the course of history. This war wasn't just about territory or power, but about an idea. The idea of a nation governed by its people, not a distant monarch. The colonies were united by this vision, and they were prepared to fight for it. Key battles were waged, painting the American landscape with the hues of bravery, sacrifice, and resilience. The Battle of Lexington and Concord, often referred to as the shot heard around the world, marked the beginning of this fierce conflict. Then came the pivotal Battle of Saratoga, a turning point that reinvigorated the American forces and brought them crucial foreign support. The war was not just fought on battlefields, it was also a war of words, a war of ideas. The Declaration of Independence, penned by Thomas Jefferson, was a daring proclamation, a manifesto of the values that this new nation aspired to uphold. It was a hard-fought war, with the colonies pitted against the most powerful empire of the time. But the spirit of liberty, the belief in a better future, propelled them forward. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 marked the end of this revolutionary conflict and the birth of the United States of America. This war shaped America's identity. It imbued the nation with a spirit of resilience, a commitment to freedom, and a belief in the power of the people. It laid the foundation for a nation that would grow to become a beacon of democracy and opportunity in the world. And so, through the crucible of conflict, a new nation was born. Only a few decades later, America would face another war. But this time, the enemy was within. The American Civil War, an internal struggle that raged from 1861 to 1865, was a turning point in the nation's history. It was a war fought not against foreign invaders, but between brother and brother, neighbor against neighbor. The conflict was rooted in deep-seated ideological differences, primarily over the institution of slavery and the rights of states. Key battles such as Gettysburg, Antietam, and Bull Run are etched in the annals of American history. These bloody encounters were a testament to the fierce determination of both the Union and Confederate forces. Each battle, each loss, and each victory left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche, shaping its future course. The consequences of this internal conflict were profound. The Civil War resulted in the death of over 600,000 Americans, a staggering number that exceeded the country's losses in all its other wars combined until the Vietnam conflict. It led to the abolition of slavery, forever altering the social fabric of the nation, and it tested the resilience of America's democratic institutions in ways that few other events have. But perhaps the most significant outcome of the Civil War was the emergence of a redefined national identity. From the smoldering ruins of battlefields and the heart-wrenching toll of human lives, a new sense of unity began to take shape. The war forced the country to confront the contradictions inherent in its founding principles, ultimately leading to a more inclusive vision of what it meant to be an American. The Civil War, in its devastation and its aftermath, provided a crucible for the American spirit. It was a brutal, bloody chapter, but one that was instrumental in shaping the nation that America would become. From the ashes of this brutal conflict, a united, albeit scarred nation emerged. As the nation healed, it also sought to grow. The echoes of the Civil War were still reverberating through the country, yet America, in its youthful ambition, set its sights on the horizon, stretching towards territories unknown. Our journey now takes us to the mid-19th century, a time of manifest destiny, when the belief was that America's expansion across the continent was both justified and inevitable. This mindset sparked a series of conflicts, most notably the Mexican-American War, a pivotal point in America's territorial growth. Driven by the allure of new lands and the promise of wealth, America found itself entangled in a bitter war with Mexico from 1846 to 1848. This was not a conflict without controversy. Many Americans, including a young congressman named Abraham Lincoln, questioned the war's morality and legality. Yet the war had profound implications. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which marked the end of the war, saw Mexico cede vast tracts of land to America, areas that now form the states of California, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Wyoming. The acquisition of these territories, however, did not come without a cost. The war left a legacy of bitterness and division between the two nations. And within America, the newly acquired territories ignited fierce debates over the expansion of slavery, a contentious issue that would ultimately lead to the Civil War. Moreover, the war and the subsequent expansion brought about a significant shift in the American society. It spurred economic growth, opening up new markets and resources. At the same time, it led to the displacement of Native American tribes and a clash of cultures as settlers moved westward. Thus, through conquest and conflict, America's borders expanded. The territorial gains may have paved the way for the United States to become a coast-to-coast nation, but they also sowed seeds of discord that continue to shape America's narrative even today. In the early 20th century, America would find itself embroiled in wars far beyond its shores. With the dawn of a new era, the nation's destiny was to be shaped not only by the battles within its borders, but also by those that raged across oceans. The first major global conflict, World War I, known as the Great War, saw America reluctantly step onto the world stage. Initially determined to maintain neutrality, the nation was eventually drawn into the fray in 1917. The sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmermann telegram were the final straws that broke the camel's back, forcing America to declare war on Germany. American involvement in the Great War was a turning point. It marked the moment when the nation transitioned from a peripheral player to an influential global power. The American Expeditionary Forces played a crucial role in turning the tide of the war, and America's economic strength helped to rebuild a devastated Europe. But the end of one global conflict only set the stage for another. The seeds of resentment sown by the Treaty of Versailles would eventually give rise to World War II, a cataclysm that would dwarf its predecessor in scale and horror. America's entry into World War II, following the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, marked a departure from its previous isolationist stance. The nation mobilized on an unprecedented scale, with millions of men and women serving in the armed forces and the home front engaged in a total war effort. The war saw America ascend to the status of a superpower. It played a leading role in the Allied victory, and its economic and military might were unrivaled in the post-war world. The creation and use of the atomic bomb in 1945 not only ended the war, but also ushered in a new era of nuclear power and the subsequent arms race. World War II also marked the birth of the United Nations, an international body aimed at preventing future global conflicts, with America as one of its founding members and key players. The war's aftermath saw the nation taking up the mantle of global leadership, shaping the world order and championing democracy and freedom. These world wars, fought on distant shores, had a profound effect on America. They transformed the nation and its place in the world. From a relatively isolated country at the beginning of the 20th century, America emerged as a global superpower by the end of World War II. The wars reshaped the nation's economy, society, and its very identity. Yet the legacy of these conflicts is complex. They marked a period of immense sacrifice and loss, but also of innovation and change. They challenged America's ideals and its understanding of itself, prompting a reevaluation of its role on the world stage. These world wars would forever change America's place in the world. The echoes of these conflicts continue to reverberate through history, shaping the nation's path and its interactions with the world. From the trenches of the Great War to the atomic age born out of World War II, America's journey through the 20th century was indelibly marked by these global conflicts. Even in more recent history, war has been a constant presence. In the latter half of the 20th century, the United States found itself embroiled in two major conflicts that would leave indelible marks on the nation's psyche: the Vietnam War and the Iraq War. The Vietnam War, a tumultuous conflict that spanned from 1955 to 1975, saw the United States in the fight against the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. The war was marked by intense guerrilla warfare and a significant death toll, leading to a wave of anti-war sentiments. Protests erupted across the country, creating a societal rift between those who supported the war and those who opposed it. This period of unrest sparked a revolutionary change in American society, leading to a re-evaluation of government transparency and a renewed push for peace. Moving forward to the 21st century, the Iraq War represents another significant chapter in America's recent military history. Initiated in 2003 under the premise of disarming Iraq of weapons of mass destruction, this war was met with global controversy. As the war dragged on, the absence of such weapons led to a growing skepticism about the war's justification, causing a rift not just domestically, but also in the international community. The war's aftermath saw an unstable Iraq, leading to the rise of extremist groups and adding another layer of complexity to the Middle East geopolitical landscape. These wars, while distinct in their origins and execution, share a common thread. They have both significantly influenced America's foreign and domestic policies. The Vietnam War led to a shift in the policymaking process, with the War Powers Act of 1973 aiming to check the president's power to commit the United States to an armed conflict without the consent of Congress. The Iraq War, on the other hand, has led to an ongoing debate about America's role in nation-building and interventionism. Moreover, these wars have had profound societal impacts. The widespread protests during the Vietnam War marked an era of political activism, influencing later movements for civil rights and social justice. The Iraq War, meanwhile, has left a generation of veterans grappling with the physical and psychological scars of combat, leading to a greater societal focus on mental health and the well-being of veterans. These modern conflicts continue to shape America's international relationships and domestic policies. They serve as a stark reminder of the lasting impacts of war, not just on the battlefield, but also on the home front. As we continue to navigate the complexities of a rapidly changing world, understanding these conflicts and their implications is crucial in charting the course for a peaceful future. As we look to the future, we see new threats on the horizon. The world post-September 11, 2001, has seen a dramatic shift in the landscape of global security. The United States, once thought to be invincible, suffered a blow that shook its very core. The implications of this event are far-reaching and still reverberate in the national consciousness today. America, in this new era, faces threats that are complex and multifaceted. The rise of non-state actors, the proliferation of cyber warfare, and the reemergence of old rivals like Russia and China all pose significant challenges to America's security. But perhaps the most daunting of these threats are those that involve nations like Russia, China, Iran, and their allies, who are known to possess nuclear arms. The risk of nuclear conflict, though lessened since the height of the Cold War, is not entirely off the table. The possession of nuclear arms by these nations, coupled with the increasing sophistication of missile technology, presents a clear and present danger to the world at large, and to America in particular. The potential for a nuclear conflict, though hopefully remote, is a specter that continues to haunt global diplomacy. But the threats are not just from traditional weaponry. The advent of artificial intelligence has opened up a new front in the theater of war. AI-fueled weaponry, with its capacity for precision and efficiency, can change the face of warfare as we know it. The potential for destruction is enormous, and the ethical implications are profound. One such weapon that has been a topic of concern is the electromagnetic pulse, or E.M.P. An E.M.P is a burst of electromagnetic radiation that can disrupt or destroy electronic devices within its range. In the context of warfare, an E.M.P could be used to disable the electronic infrastructure of a nation, causing widespread chaos and disruption. The thought of an E.M.P attack is a chilling one, and the potential for such an attack is a stark reminder of the ever-evolving nature of warfare. These threats, however, are not just about the physical destruction they can cause. They also pose a threat to the very fabric of society. The fear and uncertainty they generate can lead to societal divisions and conflict, undermining the unity and resilience of the nation. The world of today is vastly different from the world of the past. The threats we face are more complex, more unpredictable, and potentially more destructive. The nature of warfare has changed, and so too must our strategies for dealing with these threats. It is a difficult task, but not an impossible one. The strength of a nation lies not just in its military might, but also in the resilience of its people, in their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to come together in times of crisis. In this uncertain future, one thing remains clear: the potential for conflict is ever present. But with foresight, vigilance, and a commitment to peace, we can navigate these troubled waters and ensure a safer world for future generations. From the Revolutionary War to the potential wars of the future, conflict has been a constant in America's history. We've journeyed together through the pages of time, examining how the fires of war have shaped the nation we know today. In the birth of our nation, we saw how the Revolutionary War against Britain not only gave birth to a new country, but also planted the seeds of a unique identity. An identity that would be tested and molded through the crucible of the Civil War, where brother fought against brother, and the very fabric of the nation was torn and mended. We then expanded our horizons, exploring the territorial expansion through wars like the Mexican-American War. These conflicts, driven by a desire for growth and progress, had far-reaching impacts on American society, reshaping cultural landscapes and stirring political debates. Our narrative then took us to the world stage, where we delved into America's role in World War I and World War II. These global conflicts didn't merely shape America's role in the world, they transformed it, making America a key player on the global stage. In our exploration of modern conflicts, we grappled with the controversies and societal impacts of wars in Vietnam and Iraq. These wars, though more recent, have left indelible marks on our collective consciousness, reminding us of the complexity and cost of conflict. And finally, we looked at the potential future threats post-9/11, the growing concerns about possible conflicts involving nations like Russia, China, Iran, and their allies. The potential of AI-fueled weaponry, like E.M.P bombs, pose a new dimension of threat that could change the landscape of conflict forever. As we look back on our history and forward to our future, we are reminded of the cost of conflict and the importance of peace. We've seen how war has shaped America, but we've also seen the resilience and strength that emerges from such trials. As we reflect, let us also hope for a future where war is a memory, not a reality.